It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're covering San Diego Comic-Con 2022. That is your episode, folks.
Just in case you're listening in the past or in the future, we're going to give you the date so you know exactly what happened in this year.
Mike, a little unknown. This is for SEO purposes. So if someone's searching San Diego Comic-Con, SDCC, you will find it here. Literally from DC's trailer offerings to Marvel's Multiverse Saga plan and more, we got the hard-hitting news here for you. And we were excited. I will say I want to jump into this before we start up here. Like we did 3 years ago in person, I was on Twitter refreshing the content actively, as you were as well.
Yes.
I was
exactly. I felt like the best strategy was going to be, I'm going to pick one Twitter account, right, and then I'm just going to follow that one Twitter account. But then I was like, no, I want the fire hose. So I just went to the SDCC hashtag, and it was just like there was just constant contact. You didn't even have to like wait to refresh. I was getting scrolling whiplash. Like, you look at a screen scrolling too much. I had to pause and like look up to like recorrect for my neck. So that's what Hall H will do to you when you can't be there. And I kept like cursing the skies. I was like, oh, if only I was there in San Diego. But even when I have been at Comic-Con, I still haven't made it into Hall H because I do not have the fortitude to stand in that line. And much respect to you, Chris, who in 2019 when we went together, you stood in that line and got sunburned and still didn't get inside of Hall H. So it has the line for Hall H has its victims like strewn across the globe, and Chris is indeed
I am a victim.
one of them, unfortunately.
But we have a story from it, and that's what matters.
Yes, and I would say, this is San Diego Comic-Con 2022, and the first time back since 2019, and I think most world history scholars would all agree, right, that San Diego Comic-Con did not happen in the last 2 years because of a worldwide pandemic. But some of us on the fringe might say that me, you, and friend of the show, Quentin Parker, went down there and just shut the place down.
Yeah,
we just went too hard. And they're like, no, we got to shut the con down for 2 years. We broke everything. I can only imagine chandeliers every 20 feet, and we were swinging on all of them. They needed just time to fix the conventions. That's what
little did they know we'd show up in an air-conditioned vehicle cruising down from LA and totally just tear it up. Like you said, ruined it so much they had to shut it down for 2 years.
Yes.
I will say one bad part about not being there was brought up by a friend of ours, Pan, right? You know him? Actually, I joined his Discord. We had a Discord going with him and his friend Trisha, and we all and my friend Brian, friend of the show Brian, was in town beside me on the couch. So we're literally refreshing 4 different channels all at once going through this. But he did say, I wish we were close by so we could use location, like, near me for Twitter. That way we weren't getting stuff literally from around the globe. Because even at one point, I think you shared something that was like, I'm like, that's not the real account. They just changed their name and image for the moment there. So
Spanish-speaking Twitter accounts are in love with the MCU, and I'm here for it. But, man, when you're looking at that fire hose of the Twitter hashtags, you go to see why, like, those like Brazil, like what is it, CinemaCon is like so popular every year, and we never expect it, and there's always big news coming out of there because all you have to do is look at these hashtags and see who's participating in them. But it's always wild every year. Usually we get new listeners when it comes to our San Diego Comic-Con recap episode. So if you're a new listener, welcome to Superhero Slate. Every week we make a brand new episode where we recap the week's news, and we've been doing it for like 6 years now.
8.
So if we had to pitch, is it 8? Is it really 8?
We have 7 full years under our belt. We are in the midst of 7.5.
Oh my god! So our phase 8, if we had to borrow a phrase from Marvel and Kevin
a phase
Feige,
phrase,
our phase 8 of a superhero slate. But yeah, it's been wild. So stay tuned. Listen to us recap this year San Diego Comic-Con. Usually we'd give you a little recap of what we've been up to the last week, but oh my God, I'm still scrolling. I'm still scrolling. Like the news this week is thick, and we're gonna have to start swimming if we're gonna make it to the end.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, this was probably, I told Mike, hey, I need half hour to finish the show notes. No, I needed like an hour to finish the show notes. I was like, I can't. There's too many links. Oh my God, the stuff coming at us, and we're gonna go through this. Let's jump into this. First and foremost, we got 3 items that are not San Diego Comic-Con related, Mike. I wanted to hit 3 news articles that are not SDCC related, despite our thoughts here. So I'm gonna jump in. Deadpool and Deadpool 2 and Logan were added to Disney Plus on Thursday. Or Friday, one of the two. So you may, those in America who have Disney Plus may have noticed there are now Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and Logan. Interesting fact about these movies, they're all R-rated, which is the first time Disney Plus has added R-rated movies to their streaming catalog in the Americas. So you have those parental controls. Yeah.
Yes.
Set, but this was a bit of a false flag for us, if you will, a red herring. Because we thought we would get news out of Deadpool 3, possibly X-Men. I'm just going to go ahead and preface this and say, no, we did not. This was just Disney Plus doing their thing. And, throwing us off on the wrong scent the day before their live action panel.
Yeah.
So.
I'll go ahead, and this will be the first of many times I'm sure I'll say it this episode. This convention is kind of almost being pitched as a part 1 for Disney. They have their own big convention that happens every other year that comes up in September. So if there's any like Marvel, Disney, Star Wars news that you felt like you were owed this weekend, you're probably going to get it in September. So we do have the chance that this Deadpool false flag, as you say, could possibly pay off in like 6-7 weeks.
Yep. We do know Deadpool 3 is coming. We just don't have any details today. The other one I think that is going to be coming to D23, there was some Werewolf by Night, that little series that's supposedly being filmed for Disney Plus to come out around Halloween. Characters include Elsa Bloodstone, and Man-Thing will be debuting in this little one-shot, if you will.
Oh, cool.
For the fall. So Elsa Bloodstone, if you know anything about the mythical side, you probably think Blade. She's the kind of the other half of that. Her family hunts monsters. I believe she will be in the upcoming Marvel Midnight Suns game as a character. Then obviously Man-Thing had a 2005 movie from Science Fiction Channel that bombed horribly. So if you want to go catch that, you can as well. And lastly, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the show that never quit despite its best attempts. The character Chloe Bennett, who played Quake, or Daisy Johnson in the show, will apparently get reintroduced into the MCU at some point. Played by the same actress, with a new backstory, but homages her time in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So they're saying like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a different universe. This character exists in the MCU. We will use her going forward.
Yeah. Well, there was a huge announcement in Hall H, which I will still wait to reveal if for some reason it hasn't come across here yet. But yeah, there is going to be a mechanism coming up which will be very, very useful with bringing in characters from other universes.
Yes, 100%. And this is even if not, I think the character Quake is very important to some of the stories that they want to tell. Her powers are very interesting, right? She will just probably not be an Inhuman at this point. So.
She's been palling around with Simu Liu on Twitter. They had like a very lighthearted Twitter beef, and then a few weeks later they were taking pictures together. Yep. So she's out there. She's networking. Like us normal people go on LinkedIn. She just like hits up these huge mega celebrities and be like, "Hey, remember me the next time you're in a room with somebody."
Yeah. I also have my photo with Chloe Bennett. So if she comes back, I'm like, this is going to be open to you eventually. So we'll do that. But that's our non SDCC news I was able to write down before literally everything else happened. So we're going to jump into this. SDCC is still wrapping up in San Diego, right? It's got probably a couple more hours till everything's done.
I think they just wrapped up a What We Do in the Shadows panel in Hall H just not long ago. So there was still a couple big things that they saved for Sunday.
Yep. And so I think we're gonna say there was a 2021 con, but it was like on Thanksgiving. Remember that no one went to, like the weekend of Thanksgiving. So we're not gonna count that, but like this has got to be the best presence, biggest show for this con since 2019, literally because 2019 was the last one. So very, very impressed with what's going on. Let's jump into this. Adjacent to what we talk about superheroes, John Wick, the 4th movie, got a little teaser trailer. It's not really a trailer, it's more of a teaser video, showing off him, fighting some people, talking about what he's going to be doing, trying to take down the table, if you will. The end of this shows that the movie could just be called John Wick rather than Chapter 4, taking a page out of what was it, Scream, when they did their new one. They just did Scream again. So
yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting if it got like a subtitle, right? Like John Wick Survives or something like that.
They had Parabellum, but like no one really remembers that. So.
Yeah, there's a moment in the trailer. The one thing that stuck in my head is somebody distinctly says, like, John, you can't kill everybody, and then it cuts to a clip where he's throwing like an axe at somebody's head.
Yeah,
and it's just like, I think he can. I think John Wick can kill everybody. So I'm here for it.
He's trying. He's gonna try to kill everybody.
And like Chris looked up just before we started recording the show, John Wick is owned by, what did we say?
Lionsgate.
Not Legendary. Lionsgate. Lionsgate, surprisingly, still a free agent out there in Hollywood, not tied up in any streaming package or service. So I like that. Yeah. I like it when there's franchises out there that are still unattached, that are really popular, and might bounce around from streaming service from here and here or there. But like either way, I'm looking forward to Chapter 4.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, if John Wick ended on Chapter 4, I wouldn't be upset, right? Like, if they were like, hey, this is our last one, we're going to wrap it up, or maybe go to 5.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves probably doesn't want to do these forever, but, people
I think the
people are watching.
Yeah, I think the whole idea is that, like, maybe you soft wrap up John in Chapter 4, extend the universe with, like, TV shows like they've been planning on.
Yeah, they had the hotel, the Hotel Continental.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years down the line, maybe 6, John pops back up for something else, like John Wick Resurrected or whatever. You
think they would do something stupid enough and do a John Wick prequel? Like, this was his life before, like when he lived with his wife, or like before he met his wife.
The only way I would be interested in it is if they did it really, really young, to where, like, you cast somebody like in their early 20s, right? So it's like at the very beginning of how he became a spy. That might be interesting.
Well, it's not spy. He's an assassin.
Oh yeah, whatever. It's all the same to me in my head.
Well, as long as
they all kill people.
Well, it needs to say, if they do it, it needs to say hyper violent. Right, and I agree. It's got to be young. It can't just be like a de-aged Keanu Reeves. So,
man, I'm already imagining a dumb moment in a prequel, right, where he like discovers his love for dogs or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, he pet the dog in the prequel trailer. Oh, I gotta go see it now.
He only had the dog because of his wife. I think it would be interesting ending that movie, like, again, not doing like multiple prequel films, but like they always try to do. But like it ends with him like retiring or whatever.
If we know anything about Hollywood, they will squeeze as much money out of this franchise as the people that own it will allow them. Mm-hmm. So we know that for a fact.
Exactly. They're spinning off the hotel, so yeah. That link, all links that we talk about are in the notes today, folks. If you do not click on our show notes, they are on our website, superheroslate.com. They are in your podcast app at the bottom. You can click all these links, see all the videos, see all the images we're about to talk about, because there are a lot that we're about to go over. Mike, Primal, first 2 episodes are out for season 2. Have you seen these yet?
Yeah, this sounds like a callback, Chris, to last week on the episode when I was talking about watching Genndy Tartakovsky's Hotel Transylvania's movie, which were a bit of like a womp for me. But Primal is great. They're on HBO Max right now, at least the first season. I don't know if the other 2
Hulu is on the Hulu for season 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to catch it yet, but it's an awesome show. Go watch it.
It might be on HBO Max. I don't know. I see Hulu when I look it up. But yeah, season 2, people are saying it's fantastic. So, I know you caught the first season when we were at San Diego 3 years ago. So
yeah, I saw the premiere episode there at Comic-Con.
Yeah,
great.
So it dropped the same week. You can check those out on streaming wherever you watch that. Speaking of Cartoon Network animated shows, Rick and Morty. Surprise announced and debuted the Vindicators 2 short videos on YouTube. after their panel this week. So Vindicators 3 was an episode, I believe, in season 3 or 4 of Rick and Morty, where they meet up with their quote-unquote Avengers, and then Rick, psychoanalyzes them, they all die. So Vindicators 2 was what they did without Rick and Morty, or like individual stories of those characters. So it's in true Rick and Morty fashion, it's goofiness. So these are all on YouTube if you want to go check them out. I thought that was... it's always bold to announce something and then debut it the same day, or at least within 24 hours. Looking at you, Cloverfield Paradox, but they seem to pull this off, and it seems like people are enjoying them. So check those out on YouTube. We're just going to keep moving through these, because these are like things people might be interested in, but we don't have a lot to say. Walking Dead, it is almost over, Mike. Season 11, Part 3 is coming up.
End it.
Yeah. However, the Rick Grimes standalone movies, the 3 they said they were going to make, have been scrapped completely. And they're doing a limited series with Rick and Michonne, who, is played by, I can't think of her name, Okoye in Black Panther. But two beloved characters of the show since they've been gone. I would probably say the show's probably not been the same, right? People are just kind of okay about it. So, that's good that they've decided to scrap the movie aspect and do a limited series, since that's what
if you dropped off from The Walking Dead a while ago like I did, and you're just looking for a way to fill an afternoon, go on YouTube and look for recaps of seasons that you haven't watched. It's a wild ride. It's like speed running a TV show, and it's insane what the show has evolved into. I don't watch it anymore, but I still watch the season recaps because it's goofy at this point. I feel like, but I'm happy to see it end, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I remember distinctively the last bit of time, again, Walking Dead came across my radar, was when they introduced Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he beat, I can't think of the character's name, but Stephen Young's character.
Glenn,
yeah, beat him with the baseball bat. And they're like, okay, that's pretty powerful, but since then, everything's... I feel like it's been off the rails. So
I watched past that point, the very next season, obviously, because it was like a cliffhanger. You got to know where it went. And the single moment that took me out of the show is when they went to go fight Negan's camp, I think in the next season, and they roll up with a bunch of cars. And they are just like trading fire, and it's just like there's no scarcity of bullets anymore, even though there was like a brief storyline in a previous season about making bullets. And the cars that they're standing behind are apparently bulletproof, and nothing is like phasing them. And then I remember also like the VFX of like the gunfire and the bullets and like the car is just like, this just isn't working for me. And then I was just like, I don't have to keep watching this show. There's already too much to watch.
AMC really is trying to milk, again, speaking of milking properties, right? Really milking it until they come up with the next big thing after Breaking Bad kind of went off the air. So new series coming up with Rick and Michonne if you're a big Walking Dead fan. Not for us, but we could probably get a recap or watch some news later on that. Moving into our first actual trailer length thing, Amazon Lord of Rings, Rings of Power. It's a new trailer debut. I think, for me, I like Lord of the Rings. It's fine. Hobbit, not so much. This show looks beautiful, Mike, from what I watched. Like, I put it on my projector, big screen, streaming at the highest resolution I could. I'm like, this actually looks better than I anticipated a TV show to look like.
If you just cut off like I think the end title card that says like a new series coming out, and you showed it to somebody that hasn't been keeping up with the news, they would think that they just watched the trailer for a film. Like, they have poured money into this, and it's like indistinguishable from like feature quality. So even though that I'm not like the biggest Lord of the Rings like lore fandom person, like, I think the movies are entertaining and I'll occasionally rewatch them, but I'm not like a Lord of the Rings stan, if you will. But I'll sit down and give this a shot. I hope it grips me in a way, right? Because this is interesting. This is kind of like the first foray that we have in pop culture, kind of in recent memory, where we're doing a prequel that's so far in the past.
Thousands of years.
There's not going to be any like actor character really crossover. Maybe not even Gollum, because I'm thinking of Gollum as the creature, but he used to be a human. But I don't even think that human would exist even yet.
I think he was I think it was like a Hobbit style character. But yeah, like we have a young Elrond, a young Galadriel, right? These are characters, but like they are young elves, and elves take
Oh
thousands
yeah,
of years
I
to
forgot
age.
that elves don't. See, that's the thing. I barely know anything about Lord of the Rings, really. But it was interesting. I don't know much about Sauron except from the flashbacks that they do in the movies,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't expecting him to be like a kid in this show.
I don't think he's a
So
kid.
that-
I don't think that's him. I think he's around like trying to possess a kid to bring him something or other.
Maybe I don't know. You could be. I believe
Yeah.
whatever. If anybody tells me anything with authority about Lord of the Rings, I just have to
Yeah.
believe them because I have no way
Well-
to check. I'm not about to Google this. I do
Yeah.
not care enough.
Yeah, and well, then also I think the big reveal there is at the end you get the Balrog, right? The big fire demon.
Yeah.
So like, but again, like you said, it's the movie version of the Balrog. It looks just like the one we saw in Fellowship of the Ring. So I'm like, this is just a very beautiful show. It looks like they've handcrafted a lot of stuff, very physical, right? Thing. CG's also come a long way since 20 years ago, but like it doesn't feel rushed like the Hobbit movies did.
It comes out soon too. I think it was like beginning of September, like first week of September. So we don't have much longer to wait for Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so I'll be watching that.
Yeah, I'm be tuning in this as well. Just not a huge fan, or not a huge, like you said, not an obsessive fan, if you will, about Lord of the Rings. But if this is the most expensive TV show ever made, I want to see what they did with that for sure. Moving on, similar veins here. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, the upcoming Dungeons and Dragons movie starring Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, the guy from first season of Bridgerton. Was it Reggie Jean Page? I think is his name.
You're asking the wrong person.
Yep,
Chris.
didn't watch Bridgerton either. However, we got our first trailer for this, and I'm here for this Dungeons and Dragons movie because it looks like it feels like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? The party is not serious. They're not like we're on a quest to defeat the evil. They're like we are thieves and we accidentally stole the wrong thing, and we don't have a plan, but we're gonna go drink and think about it. And then also there are so many classic Dungeons and Dragons creatures shown off in this trailer. You get the mimic.
I saw a gelatinous cube for a brief second.
Yeah. Gelatinous cube. There's a mimic, the chest. You're right. It's a creature that hides in the chest. It looks like I think she's maybe a druid. Turns into a owlbear, right, which is a character as well. It looks fun. I mean, there's a little fat, chubby dragon at some point as well, like at the end of it, right? That looks like the barbarian's going to shove a sword through their head. So it just looks fun to me, and that's what I like about Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't need to be about the dice rolling the rules. It just needs to be like a bunch of people going on a fun, I guess, fantasy quest. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure what is Chris Pine the bard. That's why he's not a fighter. He's a bard.
I think there's a brief moment at the end of the trailer where you see him with like a little
lute.
Is that what a
lute,
medieval
yeah.
guitar is called?
Yeah.
Something like that. This movie looks like a big coin flip for me. I can't tell if I'm going to love it or if I'm going to hate it. So I'll just have to wait and see, I guess. It's nice to see Chris Pine again.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's been out there working, but I just personally haven't watched anything with him in it in a while. So I'm glad to see him back. And usually I don't watch junkets or interviews often with actors, but there was a Comic-Con interview that I saw get clipped and show up in my TikTok feed where Chris Pine had never watched Stranger Things before, so he was on a couch with the rest of the cast, and they were all making fun of him because he had no idea what Stranger Things was, and he had no idea like Dungeons and Dragons was involved with Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And it looks like, and Michelle Rodriguez was like losing it at the end of the couch, laughing it, and she nearly like fell off the couch. So at the very least, it looks like there's definitely chemistry here with the cast. So we'll see how it goes. If you notice, it's called Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. You already see like the series of movies they're planning, right? Dungeons and Dragons, like next subtitle, next subtitle. So
and I think that's good because like literally if they just call it Dungeons and Dragons, like I would be less interested in this because I think I think we all know what that is. I don't think there's any more negative connotation with Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's made a huge popularity. Hell, we played it during the pandemic, Mike, online. It's just this Honor Among Thieves. I could totally see them, like you said, making a sequel to this or like spin-offs in this world that they're kind of building.
yeah, it's a Paramount property, so it looks like Paramount Plus. They could use this boon.
Yeah, and it's Hasbro too, I believe, because they own Wizards of the Coast, who makes it, I believe. whoever owns Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's Hasbro.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it was in the start of the trailer. Like you said, I agree with you. It could be good, it could be bad, but I'm here for what this trailer is offering me, and I think that's really fun. So, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, let us know in the comments. I mean, it's making, like I said, you could be part of the Hellfire Club with your Stranger Things references, or you could, be a regular Dungeons and Dragons player. Let us know. I'm excited. Let us know what you think of this. And it just looks fun. Looks good. All right, we've got two. This is all of our non-comic book stuff. Okay, ahead of this, everything else is split into two categories: DC and Marvel. So buckle up, Buckaroos. We're gonna jump into DC first and foremost. What a disappointing presentation from DC. They literally brought two movies of their upcoming list here.
Based on the news that came out of Comic-Con, the lack of quantity, I would say, not necessarily quantity, I didn't even assume they had a panel. I almost just thought this was just something that they released coinciding with the con. Didn't know they had people in a room, Chris.
Yep. The only thing I read about this was Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He showed up literally in his Black Adam outfit on stage for this. Great, good for him. He's excited about it. Now, friend of the show, Brian, did bring up a good point. Are they saving stuff for Fandome in the fall? Are they having their own event for Fandome again? Right, the third Fandome. Regardless, missed opportunity here. They have two lingering problems right next year. Aquaman has Amber Heard and The Flash has Ezra Miller. But we also know there's Batgirl. We know there's Blue Beetle. We know, there's tons of stuff you can give us. Or even if you don't want to address those things, just give us some teaser footage, some clips, whatever you have. And they did nothing.
I feel like they are not on solid enough ground to present any sort of timeline up on a screen. I don't even know if they'll ever get to that point the way they're putting things together. Yeah. But we did get two trailers that we'll talk about in a minute that I would say were overall a thumbs up.
Yeah, nothing bad about quality. Quantity is my disappointment here. I also put Sandman on Netflix. Even though Sandman is going to Netflix, it's still a DC property, and we'll talk about that third trailer as well. So let's jump into Black Adam, the movie coming out next. I believe it's September, October. I'm going to have to look this up. It's around the corner, maybe August. But we got a little teaser trailer, a Comic-Con teaser, if you will, of Black Adam fighting the Justice Society. Boy, they love their lightning effects over there for this movie, and so on and so forth. But it looks pretty good. It looks. This is a quality visual movie. Mike, what do you think about this little teaser?
Yeah, we got a little bit more. I feel like we're getting a lot of the same locales as we've seen in the other kind of teaser trailers. So I feel like I'm not seeing a lot new. I'm just kind of seeing the same shots, I feel like, with different angles or the next scene after that. I didn't realize how much I would love Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how they're going to represent kind of his magic on screen. His performance in the trailer looks really, really great. Pierce Brosnan is our childhood James Bond,
right.
So we have a extra nostalgia connected to that man. And also, I just rewatched Eurovision Song Contest, the Ballad of Ice and Fire, or whatever it's called, and he's in that on Netflix, and he's great in that too. So I'm just here for more Pierce Brosnan. I understand it's a comic book design, and The Rock is a big, strong dude, and I would never say anything bad to him in person because I don't want to get beat up. But the neckline on his costume, it's so wide to me. It almost looks like somebody is pulling his shirt down too much, and somebody just stretched out. It's just trying to get a big hanger in there, and it stretches his suit. And it's just kind of, I don't know. It just looks weird to me. I don't know if he's gonna get a cape at some point in time.
He does in the trailer. The first trailer, he has that hood. I think he also has it here with a cape on it. It's
maybe he there was this behind the stage shot a couple months ago that somebody took of The Rock wearing the suit. I think he was going out onto set or stage, and from the back he looked like a big baby. So either way, there's some cool shots in here, but I think the next trailer in the kind of the same universe maybe got me a little bit more excited.
Well, Black Adam, we don't know what universe exists, but we do know that Shazam is in the same universe, and Black Adam and Shazam have a history on their power set. So we'll figure. I'm sure we'll figure it out. Black Adam's October, by the way. I corrected myself. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, our first trailer for this upcoming movie. Really, it's what do you say? It's all about family. He's watched all the Fast and Furious movies, and he knows it's all about family. Zachary Levi, he's just cutting it up, right? He's having a good time as Shazam. The new outfits look fantastic, and we get to see the villains, the daughters of, I believe it was Atlas. I said right. It's one of the A powers that's in Shazam. Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren, and then the younger girl we kind of see her at the end here. We get to see him fight some dragons. It looks like, right? Some beasts around the city. He throws a car at one.
I think it's just the power of the writing and Zachary Levi and the younger kid actors and the older alternate versions of the family. They're just fun to watch. I mean, I don't know if it's just because Shazam feels the most like a Marvel movie in the sense of like, it's fun, it's lighthearted, but that just could be what happens when you have to circle, a superhero movie around a cast of children, right? They kind of have to be like optimistic because their souls have not been crushed by society and capitalism yet. Mm-hmm. So it's the lighthearted tone that I'm really getting into. There's a fun scene where it looks like they're eating at like a burger joint and they're in full costume and they got the cups in front of them and he's trying to call the signal for his family to show up and he's like, hey, where are you? It just looks like a lot of fun. The best moment of the last film was when they all turned into the Shazamily, right? And now we get a whole movie of that. I think that's going to be great.
Yeah, and it's fun. I think we don't know very much about this, but it looks like Jimon Honshu is going to be the wizard. He's going to be playing a bigger role in this.
He's back. I thought he was dead.
Yeah, it looks like he was like imprisoned or something. But and they're after his stick, and it's all about like I said, it's all about family in that scene. But there's a big blue power dragon, and he's fighting him. He's excited. He's a kid, literally in a super powered adult body. He's like, I just threw a truck at a dragon. I'm like, yep.
But
it's fun.
Speaking of kid, the actor that plays Billy Batson is hitting puberty like a Stranger Things kid. Like they show him like 2 or 3 times in the trailer, and I almost didn't recognize him. He's like shot up like a bullet. So like they're almost hitting their own clock, right? Like in the comic book universe, Billy Batson's always a kid because you never have to age him up, right? But if they're making a third Shazam movie, Billy Batson, the actor, could be old enough to start hitting the gym and he could just play both roles. And Zachary Levi is going the opposite direction, right? He's starting to look like, you don't look exactly like an adult in their prime. Looks like you're starting to pivot a little bit, even though, like I just said, I would not say that to Zachary Levi in his face, much like I would not say that to The Rock in his face, and they both look way better than I do, but it is kind of funny. It's like, Zachary Levi, I think I see a line or two underneath your eye there. Is that what the Greek gods have done to you now? But either way.
the new suits look awesome, just to confirm that. And like you mentioned, one of the sister, Mary, the older sister, has gotten old enough, the actress has gotten old enough, where she is now playing both roles. The kid and the Shazam power.
If that wasn't, I feel like that was the case in the last movie, but if it wasn't,
it was not. Yeah,
nobody noticed, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, so they're working that, and so I mean, it looks. Shazam is a pretty big. I haven't watched the other one in a long time, but
I mean,
it's nothing against it. It's still a fun movie.
I mean, what are the odds? Nearly 100% that the post-credit scene has Black Adam in it.
Oh yeah.
It seems almost inevitable.
They've got to show how he gets his powers somewhere in there. So I fully agree. Like they've got to cross these two over. So I'm glad they're putting them kind of back to back here at the end of this.
I mean, I know we have a slew of notes here, but I feel like we have to mention also that the trailer very distinctly shows that this movie is set in the Snyderverse, right? Yeah. They show clips directly from Zack Snyder's films and referencing the heroes that already exist in his universe. Yeah. So it seems like we're setting it in there. If we could have seen the top of Superman's head in the last Shazam film, it should have canonically been Henry Cavill. Yeah. But who knows what's going to happen now?
Even if they, even if he says those names, if those aren't in the movie, I still think it's up for interpretation, right? Like you're like,
Yeah.
they just cut it for the trailer kind of thing. Because
Yeah,
Ben Affleck,
it could always just be it could always be the marketing department, right?
yeah, exactly. Because they could have literally put like, I could go back and edit in old clips of this, like here's Michael Keaton, the new Michael Keaton Batman kind of thing. So, yeah, that's it. Also, funny fact, they didn't show Ezra Miller's face. You notice that? Really hiding him from the marketing materials.
Just Jason Momoa. He's the moneymaker.
Well, and they did show Ben Affleck's face. So.
Oh yeah, technically it was under a cowl though, so you only saw half the face. He couldn't get Face ID to open up his phone. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he trained it with his mask on. So anyway, lastly, the Sandman. Those are only 2 DC movies. No Aquaman, no Flash, nothing else. Boom, done. We're done. But we'll move on to the Sandman, which is again coming up on Netflix August 5th. So 2 weeks. When we start C3E2, the Sandman will be on Netflix. This series is adapted from Neil Gaiman's comic book, which or graphic novel that people are like, how do you do this? Is going to be impossible. This looks fantastic, Mike. This really captures the series to me. The villain is the Corinthian, who has his holes where his eyes are supposed to be, and he wears the glasses. We can see Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer in a very iconic scene. Is like, hey Dream, what powers do you have here in hell? That's a very powerful comic.
Think Patton Oswalt's a crow, right?
Yeah,
I think
probably,
I got that for a brief minute.
Yeah, so honestly, if no one knows anything about Sandman, even better. If you do, you're probably going to be impressed with some of the similarities to the books with this trailer.
Don't watch this trailer immediately after you watch the Rings of Power trailer, because it's gonna make it look like they spent $20 on the show. That's the first thing that I noticed when I watched it. I was like, man, it really goes to show you how much polish and money they're throwing into the Rings of Power. But I'm sure that's not going to necessarily affect the quality, because this isn't the type of story that necessarily facilitates big gobsmacking budget. But yeah, it's coming up. Yep. Hopefully, it'll be great.
Yep, coming up, and again,
next week maybe.
2 weeks.
Is it next week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So expect at least 2 seasons from Netflix, and then to get canceled immediately after. So get ready.
Yes.
For that. Okay, so we are about halfway through the show, if not less, going into the Marvel panel, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. I split this into 2 sections because there were 2 Marvel panels across 2 days, and now I see why they did this, Mike. Honestly, totally glad they did. There's 2 reasons we'll talk about. So we're going to jump into Marvel Animation first and talk about this. And a very unrelated note from the MCU, the first trailer for the upcoming, or I guess teaser, it's not trailers are bad, for the upcoming Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur show dropped. And this is going to Disney Channel, not Disney Plus. So you got to understand the target audience for the show is children watching the Disney Channel. So if you don't like it,
the
sit
visual
down and
style. Yeah, the visual style looks fun. I watched the little clip. The background designs have like this great kind of texture behind them. I love the visuals of Moon Girl's eyes. They emote when she has these goggles on. Some of the humor looks pretty funny, but obviously I don't think this is a show that I'll necessarily sit down and watch. But it is fun to imagine. Right now, since the multiverse is cracking open, there is a possibility, right, that just as even a fun cameo in the background, right, if we do get some sort of big incursion and we see a bunch of multiversal characters on the live action screen one day, you could see a red dinosaur in the background with a little girl riding on it. And, this is kind of where it's starting right here. So that's putting a prediction out there.
A lot of this animation in the humor style reminds me of those Mickey Mouse shorts that they did for a while there. Very, very short episodes. It's fun, it's lighthearted, right? It's nothing serious. But, her trying to stop crime and being... the dinosaur is obviously more like a pet, and then her kind of just like missing because she's a child. Really, it's great. I could totally see her in these figures showing up in stores and on the Disney parks, like 100% a ploy to sell Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur toys. So that's fine. Again, like I said, this is for kids on Disney Channel. So if you have kids and you want to introduce them to some stuff, some obscure Marvel stuff at that. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is definitely going to be up your alley for sure. So you can check out that teaser here and get a vibe for it. Check that out. Now we'll shift into the full MCU stuff. We get our first I Am Groot teaser, or I guess trailer, if you will, for the upcoming animated shorts. There are 5 animated shorts. kind of showing off how, what is Baby Groot doing and what's he up to. It looks like he comes across an advanced colony of like mites under a rock on some planet who didn't want to attack him until he, either the trailer does this or it's in the show where he farts a leaf and then they get to eat the fart leaf.
Yeah, I don't know if they're kind of like, yeah, I don't know if they're pitching that like idea of like Baby Groot becoming a god. They do that fun like upshot from the ground perspective where he's like, "I am Groot," but in his like Baby Groot noise, but
squeak voice. Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny take. I did see something out there. I don't know exactly how to take this, but I think James Gunn confirmed that the shorts take place in a different universe.
Well,
I think is what he said.
I think what he's saying is, like, it doesn't affect what I'm doing, so like it can totally be in canon. Bradley Cooper is coming back to voice Rocket in this, so like I would not be surprised if these are just journeys, and he doesn't. And Marvel's like, look, you don't have to address them. Don't worry about it. Like, we didn't see any other MCU characters. He seems to be in like a lush, kind of like flowery, colorful planet at some point, doing dressing like with his leaves and different outfits. He blows up a door on a ship. James Gunn, he may not have had any input on this other than saying, yeah, go ahead, Baby Groot's fine. But I don't think he has any input on this one. It seems very disconnected.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that there's not going to be anything of huge consequence possibly at the end of the short. So just a fun lark, as they say.
Yeah. Again, 5 episodes, probably a couple minutes apiece, right? He only says, I am Groot, so it's going to be interesting. I'd love to see what Rocket's doing in these. But we're going to check them all out on August 10th. They'll be all out on August 10th, so you don't have to tune in for 5 weeks to watch these, folks. So don't put it on your calendar if you want to. Moving into literally a series that has shaped me as a person growing up, the X-Men animated series, the sequel coming to Disney Plus called X-Men 97. We have art for this series shown off with the original designs for the characters. So all these links are in here, separate images for all these we're about to talk about. So the original designs, these are the characters you know and love growing up, Mike, right? These are exactly as you'd see them in the show. They look like the lines are cleaned up a little bit. Probably advanced. Rogue looks probably the most different. And I can't put my finger on what it is.
I think her hairstyle has been slightly updated. I think it was a little bit more mullet-esque.
Yeah, it might have been more up in the front. Maybe she's got some heavier lines in the white parts of her hair. It just looks a little bit more definition. Bright colors, same characters you see. Even the big wide blue beast, right, that you remember from that era. We get to see some new additions to the show. I thought Nightcrawler was in the show. He might have been growing up, but we get to see Sunspot, Morph, Cable, Bishop, Forge, and Nightcrawler in another shot. They look, as for additions, they look great, right? Like, I think the art style is maintaining the same. Some really cool things here with the villains. We get to see the 5 villains. I don't know who the person in the suit is here, but we have Sebastian Shaw.
The red suit?
Lady.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the blonde lady in the red suit.
Who knows? It could be Mystique.
Yeah, it could very well be Mystique. Sebastian Shaw, again, Mr. Sinister, looking as lavish as ever with his things running off. Emma Frost and I believe Callisto. She was a mutant from the underground. And then lastly, we get to see a Magneto redesign, Mike. And do you know why this Magneto redesign is important for the show?
Please tell me, Chris.
Because at the end of the X-Men animated series, Xavier went into space to live with the Shi'ar. So the X-Men stayed on Earth. Magneto, this Magneto we see here in his purple outfit, is now the leader of the X-Men when the show picks up. So he is leading the X-Men in his,
interesting
age. So I don't know how that's going to tie into it, but it looks really good. Looks cool.
As I always say on this show, any writing can make any story great, no matter what it looks like. The only thing that gives me kind of bad vibes is in the Magneto redesign photo, which you can see in our show notes at superheroslate.com. There is a what's it called? Is it called the Nightwing? Is that what it is? The ship in the background?
I don't think Nightwing
or the Darkwing or the Blackwing.
It's a Blackbird. It's a Blackbird ship.
Blackbird. That's what it was. I knew I was close. That very much looks like a 3D model to me, which is, not something that they could have done back in the 90s when they made the X-Men. So that's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about, is they're going to lean into, 3D design whenever they can, because it makes vehicles a lot easier to render in animation. But in my mind, it's very incongruent from my nostalgia. So I don't think this is going to be a problem for a lot of people, right? But for me, I'm just like, I'm going to have like kind of my classic 2D X-Men, but then there's going to be like 3D car vehicle chases or something like that. It's just a little bit of a nitpick that's kind of going to throw off my 90s immersion, if you will.
I'm gonna push back on that and say, like, literally all of these look to be on static backgrounds. They're just showing the characters because none of these were moving, right? So I'm just going to assume that's a static background, and they're just showing the ship, hopefully there, for that. So they didn't show any footage. They didn't show any footage off. So we have no leaked footage to share with you folks. They did also confirm a second season of this is already in the works as well. So
hey, that's good. That's good. Netflix doesn't do that anymore, so I'm glad Disney Plus can do that for us.
Well, that's great because they get the voice actors and the animation studios and just keep cranking through them, right? Like you don't have to start, stop. So that's fantastic. Speaking of the X-Men animated series, the original series from the 90s is now in story order on Disney Plus. I didn't know they weren't in story order when they dropped. I actually haven't revisited, but apparently some purists were. So they made to make sure that announcement was here.
I get that. Animation, especially back in the 90s, did not get the respect it deserved, and they would throw up episodes whenever. They were like, hey, is the episode that's scheduled for 3 weeks, is that have a couple more explosions in it? All right, bring it on up. Those kids like explosions, right? That's how it goes.
We don't need to be canonical. We can move stuff around. Clone Wars was bad about that, the first couple seasons having some older episodes in there. We also have confirmation this is releasing fall of 2023, Mike. So we're still a little over a year out from it, but we get to see their work in progress. Very excited. Moving on, What If? Season 2 got a title card, and Season 3 was confirmed. So, boom. They're just cranking out more of these, Mike. Some more What Ifs. The showrunners did say... Season 2 is coming in 2023. No word on Season 3, but they did confirm Captain Carter and Doctor Strange and their Captain Carter are different versions. So, you don't have to worry about her episode order getting cut short. Wink, wink. Hint, hint. They also said, we have some confirmation that Odin is fighting the Mandarin in an episode. Red Guardian's in there. There's some more Thanos fighting Captain America. We have no images from this, so it's kind of sad, but like they are working on this, and we will get that prequel show.
I think there was footage that was aired in the panel for this one, but obviously it was just for the people there. So, I mean, and there's a good chance that could have just been the episode that they didn't quite have finished that was supposed to be in the last season.
Yeah, there's the Sakaar one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they're working on it. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
If I find the leaked stuff, we'll share it, obviously, but nothing yet. However, the popularity of a Marvel Zombies episode from season 1 has led to a Marvel Zombies spinoff, right? We've covered this. And they showed off some character designs for the upcoming show. So we have some of the heroes. I've definitely shared these out of order, Mike, I believe. I've done mess this up. But we have Shang-Chi, Yelena, Kate Bishop, Jimmy Woo coming in here. So I'm going to have to fix these links. But that's a pretty... it seems like they're pulling Phase 4 characters in, right, as the focus. Is that because you think they had the actors already...
Yeah, maybe, or they just had to get the movies out in theaters, right? We have another screenshot where you get to see Icarus,
yes,
right, floating in the sky from the Eternals, and I'm kind of curious how, I guess, theoretically a robot becomes a zombie.
So they are technically real skin, right, over a mechanical body. So they say he is not a full zombie. So he looks to be kind of like half zombie-ish, half regular, right? Which is weird. But the other villains, they went ahead and gave us a screenshot of that. We get half of a Captain America, Captain Marvel, the Abomination, Hawkeye. I believe that's Ghost right there, and Scarlet Witch returning again as zombies. So these are some high-powered zombies.
The inclusion of Ghost is interesting to me just because later on in the show we're going to be talking about a film that has been pitched as kind of a Suicide Squad for the Marvel Universe, for layman's terms. And every time I see like fan photoshops of that, there's somebody's always including Ghost, and I feel like that person is the only one that is a fan or remembers Ghost from Ant-Man 2.
Yeah.
So it's interesting now. Okay, I guess since What If is technically canonically connected to the MCU, Ghost has now made it back on the roster. She has been thought about and has been included. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of characters, lots of information here. This will also be the first TVMA show on Disney Plus. So it sounds like they're leaning into the blood and gore features of zombie flicks, right? To go with TVMA. I never thought they'd have a TVMA show. To be completely honest, they kind of went soft with the last one. So this is very, very impressive overall. And it's premiering in 2024, so we do have a little bit of a wait. We didn't say which part of 2024. So put that on your calendar. You can catch Marvel Zombies after What If Season 2. So this next bit, Spider-Man freshman year, is probably the most confusing piece of animation here.
Absolutely agree with that.
So we had this announced, but apparently some of the stuff here is apparently in this iteration of Spider-Man, he is being bankrolled or I guess funded by Norman Osborn instead of Tony Stark, and we get to see this is usually a duplication of the scene from was it Civil War where Tony Stark is in his apartment and he comes home with Aunt May. Mm-hmm. So we get to see our comic book Norman Osborn here. Moving on, we get to see some of the additional characters on the second link here, including Nico Minoru, who is from The Runaways, Amadeus Cho, who's the Hulk. We also get a young Harry Osborn here. So and a bunch of other characters they didn't really give us names for. So it looks like they're pulling some really obscure characters into the show overall. So Colin Peters' friends.
I have so many questions because I guess I was under the assumption, I'm not necessarily saying this is bad, I'm actually loving the art that they shared. It looks really, really great. But I was under the assumption that this was going to be like a 3D animated show similar to What If. I kind of figured they were setting up like a 3D pipeline for all of their animated stuff.
No, I've always been under the impression it was a look-alike old-school comic book animation like this. So like it looks like they're 2D drawing comic books and then animating them. So
yeah,
I don't know where you would have got. It's totally fine, but that's what it's going with.
Yeah, it looks great, but also at the same time, the last time we talked about this show, it was very much pitched as like a prequel for Homecoming. They're like, we're going to show you what Tom Holland was up to before like Tony Stark walked into his apartment and put him in Civil War, but that is totally pivoted.
I think actually that was going back. That was an assumption we made. They just said we're doing a Spider-Man origin animated story. And that's the disappointing part of this is we'll talk about in a second that it is not in the MCU because the second image third image we have here are villains that he would face, and that includes the Scorpion, Dr. Octavius, the Chameleon, and some other ones I don't really know who they are. We'll probably learn as we go.
Yeah.
But those are like big characters you're not just going to put in your animated show and get away with.
Yeah.
Especially because he met them later in No Way Home.
Yeah, I'm sure this is going to, look great, interested in it for sure. But the fact that you kind of are taking this away from the connection of Tom Holland, whether it was intended to be or not, all I can say is everybody out there that like kind of tracks the MCU news, we all were just under the assumption, so we should go back and check and see what was actually officially said. But if this isn't connected canonically to Tom Holland Spider-Man, in my head this is just another Spider-Man show, which there is a ton of them out there. Honestly, it makes it a lot less special to me, even though I love the look of the design. But yeah, Spider-Man animated TV shows are a dime a dozen. They get cranked out all the time. And even if this one might get more love, more attention, more budget, it still is kind of just add another one to the shelf, right?
I don't think it's going to get more budget based on what this is, or it might get more love, but I don't think it's going to get more budget. The second image we show that kind of gives me an implication that this is not MCU, as well as we get to see his suits, right? Well, he didn't have suits before he met Tony Stark.
Exactly.
So these are all new suits. I love their designs. I'd love to learn more about them, right? Like, what are their purposes? What are their functions? So we'll learn about that. The interesting part is they're bringing Charlie Cox in as Daredevil in the show. So that's like the only MCU connection at this point, because Tom Holland is not voicing the character, I'm pretty sure. So they must have thrown the biggest wad of cash at Charlie Cox recently to have him do all this stuff.
No, I think he's just happy to be working again with Marvel more officially, right?
Yeah.
I guess he did a good job. He earned a lot of goodwill when he did that Daredevil show, because it was a great show. He made a great performance, and that means he gets to stick around and do more.
Yeah. And lastly, we get to see Doctor Strange in this, which is not our Doctor Strange we're used to. It's very comic book Doctor Strange, right? So I'm leaning this canonical status as unknown, but very unlikely. Season 2 has been confirmed as Spider-Man's sophomore year. So at most, we might get, 4 seasons out of this. I don't know what the episode order is.
If they want to get a 5th season, they could call it Spider-Man Gap Year, right? Before he goes off to college. Yeah. But like I said earlier when we were talking about Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, there's always a multiversal chance, right? So, that maybe something out of this could pop up later. But
let me lean into something here. So we're last bit of Spider-Man freshman year, 2024 on Disney Plus. I'm gonna go into the next thing here. We're going to talk about live action MCU. Animation is over. And here's the part I think that is going to be important going forward, whether we like it or not. Animation is not on this chart. Animation is on no Phase 5 or Phase 6 chart we're about to talk about. I think animation is out the gate canonically now. They are just like, do whatever you want. We'll say it's a multiverse, but we don't care. Like, literally, what if never, like, doesn't affect us, just do whatever you want in there. Like, that's kind of like, it sounds like the directive going forward is do whatever you want in animation, but you are not in our main universe.
I have a strong feeling that whether they wanted to or not, I think the production schedules are just too long to try to fit it within, like, especially a streaming schedule, right, where they are turning over a lot of these shows within a year. Like we just said with X-Men, right? We're not going to be seeing it for a while. We're not going to be seeing some of these stuff for like 2 or 3 years. So it's probably, they just had to probably make a decision, like, we just can't fit it in. We can still make really fun multiversal stuff, but we can't expect people to.
Yeah, well, they make homages, right? Like, literally, in Doctor Strange, we got Captain Carter and a yellow wheelchair, Professor Xavier from the X-Men show. Totally fine, but doesn't mean anything they did in those shows is going to affect, the universe going forward. So, Disney seems, Marvel seems to be like, you know what? Animation, just have at it. Do what you want to do. We're gonna do what we want in live action. And if you want to, again, we may not be the audience. Maybe kids shows, right? Spider-Man freshman year may be great for kids. We don't know yet. So we'll check it out. Spider-Man's kind of universal. But let's get into Phase 5. Phase 5. Phase 4. I jumped ahead of myself. Phase 4 for Marvel. We were there when we were in the same town when they announced it, right? San Diego Comic-Con. All the movies.
In the same zip code, Chris.
That's right. We could have thrown a rock and probably, hit the building. But, we have a new decree from Kevin Feige himself. Phase 4 is done with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And he has laid out, he went and said, use that cosmic background that we use on everything and make a timeline of Phase 4, starting with WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Hawkeye, Spider-Man, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, Ms. Marvel, the recent Thor: Love and Thunder, the upcoming She-Hulk in August, and finally Black Panther: Wakanda Forever in November. We are done at the end of this calendar year, Mike. So definitively done. That means we have 2 properties left to get through Phase 4. One, She-Hulk, coming out in 3 weeks, I believe? Maybe 4 weeks. She-Hulk turning law August 17th. We have a brand new trailer drop for this series. And you want to get my attention, you blow an air horn at somebody at the start of your show. And you do something at the end. You start with an air horn and you end with an even bigger reveal. So I haven't talked to you about this, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, it was a fun trailer. I love just Bruce messing around with another Hulk. It feels like he can finally, share some of his knowledge of what it is to be a person with this very specific power, but kind of seeing him get worked over by Tatiana Maslany's Hulk
Quote,
in
unquote,
every facet was really funny.
Jealous of her, yeah.
Yes, exactly. There was that fourth wall breaking moment, which was interesting because it surprised her. So it almost seems like, is that the first time it happens? Does her becoming a She-Hulk mess with her brain chemistry to where she feels like she needs to break the fourth wall?
I think you need to rewatch that. She wasn't surprised. She was caught off guard by Bruce turning around and looking at her. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because he hears her say this, and we know she's looking at the camera, but he may not know. So I'm interested to see how they play this off.
Either way, it was funny. I'm not really analyzing it too much. I think the thing that I took the most out of this trailer, that's not including the very, very last teaser scene, was her boss at the law firm says, "Oh, now we have superheroes coming out of the woodwork, and I want to create, a sliver of our, law firm that does superhero law." And I was like, okay, I would really much enjoy somebody in the MCU at some point in time address the ever-changing landscape of what it is to be a human on this earth, right? We kind of meticulously followed all of these movies over the years, and we've seen how people have become superpowered. They're either super smart, super rich, and they can make superpowers out of technology, or maybe it's something alien related or science adjacent, right? So if we're just going to have normal street level superheroes that are just causing something more than a minor inconvenience, how is that happening? They showed that frog person. Does that person have a name, right?
Yeah, Frogman. Yeah, he's actually a powered superhero. a tech superhero, sorry.
Yeah, where did Frogman's powers come from? In the comic books, if you were kind of a more lighthearted comic, you would do something kind of wacky like they did in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Jamie Foxx falls into a pod of eels. The dumbest thing I think I've ever seen in a superhero movie for how somebody gets their powers, right? You can't really do that anymore. The MCU is a little too serious. So yeah, I am kind of curious, but it seems like maybe we'll address a little bit of that because we see literally other superpowered people in this show. So far, what I've seen looked very, very positive.
It looks funny. It looks humorous. I think people were worried about the CGI early on. I think the CGI, there's improvements, right? It looks better with her as the Hulk.
Takes time to render, folks.
It's great. I think it shows. I think we see some magical looking creatures, like maybe elves or some sort of goblins in the scene. It looked like she was fighting the Wrecking Crew with some magic imbued things, which shows me and then we get Wong. So I'm like, okay, you're talking about how do these people get is there a magic problem in New York because of the Sanctum? Probably not. I hope it's not just magic. I want some science and tech powered heroes, right? We're gonna see Emil Blonsky, of course, and then the end credits we get to see the littlest glimpse of the red and yellow Daredevil outfit, Mike. They cut him short. You don't see the helmet, you don't see the head, but we all know those sticks when we see them. We know that's Charlie Cox in there.
You get to see the torso. They have one full body shot, but he's crouched over, landing from a jump, and he's far away. Yep. If you analyze that scene, you can see, I think, like you said, a little bit of yellow, some of the dark suit, right? It looks really, really great. And then we just have a close up of his abdomen. So they're leaving you guessing. So this theoretically should be the exact same Daredevil we saw in No Way Home, right? I can't imagine it being any other version of that.
Well, there's the character who plays Daredevil, Charlie Cox, got I think 3 credits on screen this weekend. So we'll talk about that third one in a little bit. Make me leave. But also, he's a lawyer, right? Daredevil's a lawyer. Wouldn't it be interesting to have one lawyer and another lawyer on screen at the same time? I think so. Yeah,
I guess there was a scene in the trailer I do remember when she's talking to Wong of oh, we do things by the book over here. The Book of Ashanti? No, the Book of
The
laws.
Yeah.
So it seems like She-Hulk will not quite necessarily walk down the street and grab a criminal that has gotten off easy. You know, she will go the lawyer route.
Yeah, she was afraid of tearing up her suit fighting Titania there in the courtroom as well.
Yeah.
So
Spandex will be your best friend.
yeah, so very very excited. This looks funny. 9 episodes, right? I think 9 episodes, half-hour episodes. So
Yeah.
I think they're gonna breeze by.
Like we said last week on the show, this not only is it the last Disney Plus show in this phase of Marvel, this should be the last Disney Plus show in that first initial production push for Disney Plus.
Yep.
So maybe we could see there's a little bit more of a tail on She-Hulk, right, when it comes to production. So maybe there could be some pivots within this show. If you felt like the Disney Plus series needed to make some adjustments, maybe we'll see a little bit of that here. So everything after, which I think wouldn't be Loki season 2, would it? What is the next Marvel Disney Plus show?
It would be on the list down here. Secret Invasion, actually.
Secret Invasion. Okay, so maybe Secret Invasion. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
They have filmed Secret Invasion, are in the middle of reshoots. So yeah, 100% could have a stinger on there. But also, it's the end of Phase 4, and we'll talk about what this whole means at the end of this. Moving along, the last movie of the year for Marvel is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And let me tell you what, I did not expect a trailer this weekend, Mike. However, they gave us a trailer, and this is by far one of the most emotional Marvel trailers we've had in a long time.
This is great. If
Yes.
you have been to a Cinemark movie theater, I think in the last year, they have like this little preamble trailer that says, don't watch what was the last James Bond movie that came out, the last Daniel Craig one?
Oh, No Time to Die.
It's not Skyfall.
No Time to
whatever
Die.
it is. No Time to Die. They're like, if you want to watch No Time to Die, you don't want to watch it on a tiny screen and then the screen explodes. It's like, you want to watch it at the movie theaters because it's cinematic. You need to watch it in a movie theater to make it cinematic. And then so the term cinematic has just been stuck in my head for a while. And when I watched this trailer, that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, this finally feels cinematic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying every Marvel film needs to reach that level, right? You know, we all go to a different Marvel movie for a different reason. Popcorn, fun, action, comedy sometimes. But this feels like a film.
Yeah.
Based on this trailer, which we have gotten before in the MCU, but it's nice to see it come back around again. A lot of emotion, obviously tied into. They talked a lot about Chadwick Boseman in the panel itself, and then they aired this trailer. But yeah, I was, like Chris and I were saying at the top of the show, I was refreshing that Twitter feed constantly because I know this trailer's coming. Where is it? And then it finally landed. I had it queued up, ready to go. My wife was outside planting flowers. I was like, get inside now. We got a Black Panther trailer to watch. And man, it's great. It looks awesome. It weirdly kind of has Avatar Way of Water vibes to it.
It does.
Just because it has that kind of more of a like melancholy feel to the trailer.
Well,
more of like lower dulcet tones.
And it's a remix, a cover of No Woman No Cry by Bob Marley, done by a woman. And then the pace of it picks up. And I believe they said the pre-order or the pre-music releases tomorrow, the 25th, and it picks up, with Kendrick Lamar at the end of it. So they really use this, I don't know, the music to their advantage, right?
Yeah.
To let
the music was really
there.
It was really effective in the last Black Panther movie too. Kendrick Lamar did the whole soundtrack.
Yeah. So this trailer, not only deals with, we have to address the passing of Chadwick Boseman, the mantle of Black Panther, the Wakandans, but also they're introducing Namor. They confirmed it. They gave us the actor. They gave us everything in this trailer. No more secrets about this. I mean, there are secrets about this, but like literally, it's not like they're hiding the Atlanteans in this, right? And we get to see this. There is, like you said, a water birth, a whales, Atlanteans on whales. We get to see, Namor. It looks like it's like maybe his city is burning and him as a king. I did see the introduction of Riri Williams Ironheart in a couple scenes, and the Funkos that went on sale right after show that her suit looks a lot like that concept art we shared a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
As
Wearing,
well as
goggles and some headphones.
Yep, and like the arms like had that like grippy thing with the blaster on it. Also, the confirmation of Atuma and Nomura as well as characters. And Atlantis. There is so much behind this I don't know, and I want to watch this trailer over and over again.
Oh, yeah. It was great because I felt like not only was it a great teaser trailer, right, where you just could kind of see the current state of Wakanda, where just everyone is just emotionally raw. There's like a great performance from T'Challa's mother. In the throne room, but also they peppered like story-based action scenes. It looks like there's some sort of like science lab on a ship, which you know you could just only assume like the Atlanteans are involved in some way there, right? But there's also military people involved too. So there's lots of looks like warring factions going on here. So yeah, and it felt great. It was great to see a trailer like this, and I was getting a little worried because I thought I did my research prior to Hall H, and I thought it was only going to be 60 minutes because that's what this article told me. I should go back and find it so I can tell them they did me wrong, they did me dirty. This was like at least 90 minutes because we were hitting that 60-minute mark, and they had the Guardians of the Galaxy out on the stage, and I was like, they haven't even touched Black Panther yet. I was told I was getting a trailer. Where is it? So I was extra happy to get it, and it's so great knowing that like this is coming out in November. You don't have to wait super long for this, so I'm stoked. I'm ready. It's going to be great. I want to see the box office literally explode. We saw all the money that this made domestically and also worldwide when the first Black Panther came out. Let's tear into it again. Let's put up some good numbers.
Yeah, and the end scene, they don't give us any Black Panther till the end, and I'm fairly certain that's Shuri, right? It looks like a female body in that outfit with the black and gold.
Yeah, they obscure it enough that it leaves you guessing.
So it's not about the Black Panther, it's about Wakanda and Atlantis, and I think that's going to be a great story to tell here. So coming out November 11th of this year. Okay. And then after Black Panther, we thought, we know what movies are next year, 2024. We've seen it. We know it's Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, and what was the other? Captain Marvel, or the Marvels, Ant-Man, and Guardians 3, right? Wrong. Kevin Feige, he's like, the hell with you guys and your plans next year, a little bit after. Here is Phase 5. The whole phase, Mike. Not even just like a partial tease. They drop all the limited series and movies we're going to see for Phase 5. And that goes through adding an extra one in 2023. So I think it's 4 movies in 2023, and then even a couple in 2024. And the worst part about this was some of these were spoiled through like trademark copyrights like on Friday before they announced it. So of course we knew some of this was coming, but we'll talk about this. And also Phase 5, if you look at our chart here in our notes, does not include any animation. So they are I guess on a different release schedule, right? Like they're like your shows just come out when they come out. We'll fit them in between ours somewhere along the lines. But I would not be surprised if we see some overlap based on the schedule coming up here. So let's jump into it. First and foremost, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania. They were giving out posters before this, showing off Scott Lang in his suit, Hope Van Dyne in her suit, and then a new purple suit with someone wearing Converse sneakers. Mike, I don't know if you caught that, but it is. We believe this is Cassie Lang, Scott's daughter, in this.
Yeah, they had the advantage of Endgame, right, where they were able to age up the character, right, pretty quickly on the screen, and then also I'm sure there has also been time between Endgame and when this movie comes out to where you don't have to necessarily have a child actor. You can have like a young adult, as they would say in that role.
And I believe they recast the actress who's actually in Endgame as well for this. So
yeah, I think because I saw images of her floating around on social media. I wasn't super familiar, but the older we get, Chris, every year we become a little bit more out of touch with teenage actors. So no surprise there.
Yeah, and her suit also looks a lot more like Hope's than Scott's does. If you look at how it was laid out, no belt and stuff like that. The other thing that's very important to notice in this, you may have already seen it, is Kang is in the background. Jonathan Majors version. He's just blue and in this blue background. He's got very, very piercing, glowy blue eyes, and his traditional helmet on as well, which is really cool looking here. Because
Yeah, I want to see cranky Hank Pym. I know he got his wife back, so he might be less cranky. But I love that there was just an opposition to kind of the Avengers' at least technological superiority when it came to Hank Pym. He's like, I can do anything Tony Stark can do and better, and I don't really like him or his family. So I would love to see a little bit more of that dynamic just because I think it's really funny.
Yeah, and I believe I'm fairly certain they're going to be in here, right? But probably just like minor characters. Because I think, maybe, what's her name? Hope's mom is Janet, was in this realm for so long. Maybe she has some beef with Kang that we don't know about that could pop up.
Yeah, I suppose he could have been there. I just personally need some redemption. I wasn't a big fan of the sequel to Ant-Man, so hopefully I know Peyton Reed is returning to direct the third one, so I don't know if that means more of the same, or if you're a good creative person, you kind of take in feedback and adjust and move forward. So there definitely seems to be a lot more going on in this, right? I feel like the history of the Ant-Man standalone movies have always been, this is what you get after your big movie, right? After Avengers Age of Ultron, here's an Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
Here's another Ant-Man movie. So it seems like the stakes have never been this high for Ant-Man and his crew.
Yep. And they used Ant-Man in particular as a very, very important part of Endgame, right? Like his powers, the quantum realm, very much crucial to how that movie operated. So I think they've even elevated him and what he does on a higher scale, more so than we've seen before. Like, it's not about stealing a shrinking building. It's about stealing the power to control time itself. They also did, name drop Kang the Conqueror on stage. So, we do know that this is Kang coming for Jonathan Majors.
I don't know if it was during this segment or if it was later on, but Jonathan Majors was there on stage. He specifically said there will be conquering. So who knows what that means, but I think it's cool.
Yeah. And this is coming out February 17th, 2023. So this is the first movie of Phase 5 and for 2023. Moving on. Secret Invasion got a new logo. I think this is like the third logo they've given us for this. But they confirmed the return of Kobe Smulders. They brought her out. She plays Maria Hill. They brought her out on stage. It looks kind of like these letters like half and half, maybe representing the duality of Skrulls, right? Covering up. But there's really not a lot we can read into the logo. The other important part here, they did confirm Don Cheadle will return as War Machine in this series as well. So they've added him or not.
That's one lack of logo that we've seen that we kind of expected is maybe Armor Wars, which was teased back in 2019. But as we said, there is a pseudo Part 2 coming up in September for D23. So who knows? We could see Armor Wars.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit for sure. But Secret Invasion's coming out spring 2023. Mike, we know they're doing reshoots, so that'll be the next one. That's literally, I think, our next Disney Plus show that's in the MCU adjacent. So high on my list, right? Nick Fury coming back, and all the characters involved. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We are finally here. After the firing and rehiring of James Gunn, they've got him back for Volume 3. They have a new logo. We were trying to determine locally, is this like an 80s vibe logo? Is that the neon gold around the sign? Like, what are they going with here? It's just gold because of Adam Warlock, right, in the gold people from Volume 2. The most interesting part of this is literally actor from Peacemaker, Chukwudi Iwuji, arrived literally at the Comic-Con in full high evolutionary costume.
Yeah, that was great. He walked in from the back of the room, walked right up to stage. He was posing for pictures in character, reminiscent when of Tom Hiddleston came out as Loki that one time. Yeah. So that's great. I love that, because that's not easy to do, right? You have to bring up a whole makeup crew, the suit. You need a very private area where somebody can put on all this makeup. I'm sure he had to show up way earlier than everybody else to get in a chair, but he was eating it up. He loved it.
Yeah, and that's something as well. Suits are made for movies, not for Comic-Con. So like that's interesting. It's great that he was able to come out in it. You didn't get a lot from him, but I did share with you. I shared with Mike some leaked footage from this panel. It showed Mantis dancing, and then a very cute baby Rocket Raccoon.
Yes, I saw that little bit of a leak, and Rocket, he's kind of like a little bit of a hanging thread, right? We haven't really got a lot about his backstory, as we've seen some of the other characters have backstory, so expect to get more backstory.
Yeah, I mean, a baby raccoon, you're going to get your heartstrings tugged on a little bit here as he's turned into Rocket, so it's going to be a very emotional trip here, and they confirmed this is the last of the Guardians saga, so
we kind of already knew that, and just for everybody, peace of mind, James Gunn did say things have to end, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to die. So expect the Guardians to disband, but of course, at least some percentage of this crew is going to stick around and be transported on to other adventures. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is Chris Pratt's last outing as Star-Lord.
Maybe I wouldn't say. I would say probably. I think Drax would be more likely, since Dave Bautista literally hates everyone he works with after like 3 years anyway. So he's like, I hate the studios. I don't like them. So I can see them do that. But yeah, if anything else comes out, we'll let you know. He did say James Gunn said he was sad that they didn't have a full trailer, but they are working on something as quickly as they can to get it out. So I'm very, very excited for that. May 5th, 2023, kicking off next summer. We have nothing other than a logo on this mic, but Echo is getting a summer 2023 release. It's just the same logo. You're going to be disappointed when you open it up.
Not much to there.
Not much there.
We can move on.
They didn't bring anybody out there. The Marvels, same bit. July 28th, 2023 release, confirming that. Nothing other news. Didn't bring anybody out for this one, so it was just on the screen and on the calendar list. Moving on. Other than adding season 2 to the logo, Loki is confirmed for a summer 2023 release as well. So we'll go Echo, the Marvels, and Loki season 2 back to back.
I kind of hope and expect that this logo maybe changes a little bit. If you have letters in different styles, just throw up different letters for season 2, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure it will, right? I think whatever they come out with that'll be it. Here's the big news: Blade finally gets its release date after 3 years of sitting in limbo. Of November 3rd, 2023. So they've added an extra November release date for a Marvel movie in 2023 next year. This was not on the calendar to begin with. So we only had 3, so this is great for them. They did nothing else with this movie. So moving on, Ironheart is in Phase 5 as well. She is getting her debut in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, as we saw, but will her get her own show in fall of 2023. So that's good that she'll have like an origin, right, in Black Panther, and we don't have to do an origin TV show before we see her along the way. So very excited to see what that is. Agatha House of Harkness had a name change to Agatha Coven of Chaos. I like this better, maybe, right? I don't know what House of Harkness means, but Coven of Chaos sounds pretty fun. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like this show is particularly a sampling of Marvel / Kevin Feige reacting to the audience. I would bet money that this show was never on the table until the response from WandaVision and her character and her performance and how everybody loved it. And then also maybe even hedge your bet and say even on set when they were filming how much they loved that way that character developed. So this kind of shows you what can happen when something goes really, really well in a TV show. Let's get the spinoff going. So interesting sample there. We'll see how that one turns out, because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem like this one was planned, but it's just a nice addition, I suppose.
This was announced last year, right?
Well, yeah, I knew it was announced last year, but it wasn't announced until after WandaVision.
Because it sounded like you're like, you made it sound like it was announced. I'm like, cool.
No. Because we didn't really know. We started to get more reports kind of after the Disney Plus shows have kicked off that Feige's a little bit more reactionary than we had previously assumed, and this is just one of those things.
And I think the Coven of Chaos, chaos magic is what the Scarlet Witch has, right? So is this a historical backlog of her getting her magic and the history of her? Is it from WandaVision going forward? Now that Wanda's gone, is her hex gone on her as well?
No, maybe. I didn't even think about that.
So what does that mean? So there's opportunity here along the way, and it's releasing winter 23, which will go into 2024. They said for that. This news, I had to check this 3 times to make sure it was true. Daredevil Born Again, a series on Disney Plus coming in spring of 2024 with 18 episodes.
Wow.
18 episodes. They are bringing in Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. Of course, they already confirmed that while they were there. But 18 episodes, that is over a quarter of a year, right? Like, because actually that's more. That's 4 months, 4.5 months.
Chris, this is wild. I what an emotional roller coaster I went through, right, when I saw this announced, because first of all, the title, it was right there in front of us all along, and we never guessed it. Born Again, if you're not familiar, it's a title of a very, very popular Daredevil comic that has been around for a while, and I feel like that title's doing double duty, right? We're bringing the character back, Born Again, died on Netflix, revived on Disney Plus, so the title just fits perfectly, like chef's kiss. Like what a great decision. And then when I heard 18 episodes, not only did I think I heard it wrong like you did, but Feige boasted about it on stage. He was like, not only is it coming back, there's going to be 18 episodes. Like, that is like, see, people like to say the term sea change, right? It's like in music, like when you go up like a whole nother octave, right? This is like a double sea change, right? A normal change would be like, oh, we're going to like 12 episodes, maybe. No, this is like nearly a season of like Law and Order, right? This is almost like a full order. Like these people working on this show, they're not gonna have to worry about their next gig for a while working on this one. So. And shocking. I'm really curious what's the strategic move here for 18 episodes, because I feel like we have to mention, whenever we talked about Daredevil on Netflix, right, what was the one thing we always harped on? 13 episodes is way too long, right? Because they have all of that filler. So I would assume they're addressing that in some way. But yeah, 18 episodes. What is going on here? I mean, I'm just more curious than anything. This is the most, like, we're going to talk about more exciting, surprising news, but this is the most interesting, surprising news, I would say.
100% agree, because, again, 4.5 months of weekly episodes. I assume they're not half-hour, because Daredevil is a drama, right? Like, you wouldn't do half-hour drama episodes. It's not enough time to do this. So I assume they're 45.
I could see him doing 40 minutes, possibly.
45, which, with commercials is a standard hour show. By 18 of those. So is this the final outing for Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, is my question. Like, is this, like, we want to lock you in, but we have a story we want to tell?
Who knows? Maybe this could be a little bit of, like, I don't know, like a playground, if you will. Maybe there'll be whole episodes that don't really involve Daredevil all that much, and it could just be like a soft launch for other characters. Maybe like I just mentioned with the She-Hulk trailer, where are all of these heroes coming from, right? Maybe this is a really deep dive into our current version of the MCU, of what's going out there in the world street level, right? How is this really affecting people on a day-to-day basis? And 18 episodes could do that.
Could they be bringing in the Defenders, or at least Jessica Jones, into this as well?
Yeah, maybe. When I heard the 18 episode release order, if you just kind of look at just the way streaming services in general release things, I would not be shocked if this was released in parts, right? Part 1 in the spring, part 2 in the fall, or who knows, maybe even 3 parts. But I would be pretty surprised if this was a consistent 18 weeks.
As of right now, we have to assume so, because this is part of Phase 5. And Daredevil Born Again, this is fantastic. Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, fantastic. Will be followed that spring on May 3rd by Captain America New World Order. This was one of the things that was kind of ruined for us with this copyright one. So Captain America 4 is called New World Order. The new logo is also very much a Sam Wilson color right here. the blue and silver, which is more of his Captain America suit than the red and white. No story announcements, just a title. And then in July 26th, we will get ended by the oft-rumored but now confirmed Thunderbolts movie, Mike, which people have asked me, what are the Thunderbolts? Well, they are like the Suicide Squad for Marvel. Pretty much the villains who you send out to get killed.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the iterations we've seen of the Suicide Squad on screen, I would say those groupings seem more evil in nature than maybe the Thunderbolts are being pivoted. At least, if rumors or at least speculation ends up being true, right? Ghost was a villain, but was maligned earlier in age with a disease, and you can kind of see where it came from. So are these all going to be very redeemable characters that just happen to be villains?
Yeah.
Marvel
really
not sure.
hasn't.
It's interesting to see it ending a phase for sure.
Well, Marvel really hasn't villainized their a lot of their villains. If they were killed, they were true villains. The ones that lived, like U.S. Agent. Well, yeah, he did decapitate someone, but he's still not a horrible person. Yelena, right? We've been working with her, or working with Elaine from Seinfeld. Her name Contessa Valentine, whatever her name is. So these are like really, I would say, B-list characters who have like red in their ledger, if you will. But we don't know much about this. The literally says it goes from Captain America to Thunderbolts. But if you back up spring with Daredevil, start it in March. April, June, July, it would end with Thunderbolts as well, right along the way. Now,
yeah, I'm happy to see that it's a film for sure, because as we all know, if you listen and have subscribed to our show, we know my opinions of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if there was a way to start to redeem parts of it, I would say a film would be a good way to do it, right?
Yeah, and both of these seem to be spin-offs of that, if I'm going to be completely honest. Captain America New World Order and Thunderbolt seem to be direct decisions from Falcon and Winter Soldier at the end of it. Now, I will say, to me, Captain America the Winter Soldier is the one that's going to technically be the big, tent post at the end of the phase, whereas the Thunderbolts is always that post-big event movie at the end of the phase, like Ant-Man was, right? Spider-Man Far From Home, was after Endgame. Like, that really wasn't... That was like way different than Endgame was. So
they butt right up against each other. I mean, they specifically have Captain America: New World Order just months, if not weeks, depending on how you like to count your calendar dates, before Thunderbolts. So it seems like those stories must intertwine in some way to be so close, and the characters being so related in origin. And then we'll have Daredevil: Born Again airing through those dates. Well, I guess depending on if they break it up into parts or not, we will find out. So
I can see.
Curious how that's going to end.
Yeah, I can also see Daredevil literally almost reacting to both of these movies at the same time. But we've not been lucky enough to have something run 18 episodes on MCU. And that's it for the show. There's no Phase 6. Oh, wait, there's one more thing, Mike. There is a Phase 6 for Marvel. They didn't stop.
This is the meat. This is the surprise. I was not expecting a whole nother timeline.
You've got to be thinking, Chris, duh. They said Fantastic Four last time. Where's your Fantastic Four? Well, you know what? You're right. We have no information about this movie. Nothing at all. But we do know Fantastic Four will kick off Phase 6 on November 8th, 2024. Now, this is interesting because when they did this, they started putting a timeline up here with a bunch of other dates. Fall, winter, fall, 2024, 2025. Literally a year and a half of these movies and potential shows. And they didn't fill hardly any of them in. I count 8 properties here, Mike. That are
8 empty slots. And I will say it once again, we have one more big Disney Expo coming up for the year. And I would be shocked if all of those slots don't get filled during that presentation.
I believe they did confirm these are D23 announcements. So your bet has already been won.
Yeah, and it's like this is the I feel like this is if Phase 5 was like a course of the meal, this is like one of the final courses of the night. This is where they bring out all the expensive, tasty stuff, because I'm looking at two logos that I feel like I have not seen that A in a while.
An A? What possibly could start with an A? Oh my God! Not one, but two Avengers movies with actual titles, Mike. Not Part 1, Part 2. We've got here May 2nd, 2025. Oh my God! The Avengers Kang Dynasty. Oh my! Did not expect this. I saw the copyright trademarks. I thought it was a comic book series, right? This could literally be a comic book title, but no. To hell with us. They're doing Avengers: The Kang Dynasty in May, and guess what? Is that 6 months later, Mike? Am I counting this right? 6 months later, they're gonna hit us with Avengers: Secret Wars, the worst kept secret in the history of Marvel Avengers titles.
Yeah, it's crazy to see it. It's refreshing, right, to see the Avengers logo again. We all knew something like that would be coming out eventually, but just like the word Avengers have not been breathed, outside of the stories, right? Like if there's going to be another grouping, another movie, what's going on? All we knew after Endgame was Feige was saying we're gonna be pivoting a little bit. We won't really be relying so much on the big phases anymore. I don't know if he changed or pivoted after you said that, or maybe this will truly feel like a different experience. But man, two big Avengers logo. Kang Dynasty makes me think when people like refer to China with their different dynasties out there, like the Ming Dynasty, and we know there's a little bit of turmoil out there with the Chinese box office and what China will and won't let into their country anymore. So this could be maybe a little bit of a subtle nod of like, we don't care about the China box office dollars anymore. Let's go ahead and throw Kang Dynasty below that logo. We don't care if our movies get approved over there anymore.
Before you get on your cynical wheel, Kang Dynasty was a comic book series from 2001. So it has
I wasn't saying it didn't exist, but like I'm sure S&P was just like, ooh, will this title get approved over in China? There's been a big shift in the box office just within like the last couple of months, a year, that they're not relying on it so much anymore. But I will digress. Secret Wars, Chris. This is where I ask you specifically. Yes. It seems like, from what I've been hearing out there online, that it seems like this is going to be probably more influenced by the 2015 Hickman run, not the old classic Battle World, which was, I think, initially created just to sell merchandise and toys, if I remember. I think that was actually the impetus of the original Secret Wars.
Well, the original one was, yes, but it was also the first the biggest crossover ever in Marvel. Crossover events didn't exist. You never had characters exist on this level, but you have to. That's very, very much like you got to believe in a lot of this stuff that just doesn't work in the movies these days. It's very comic booky. The 2015 one that I own every issue to because it was one of my favorite series deals with incursions. Have you heard that word lately in Marvel?
I have.
Of planets colliding and how Dr. Doom and Reed Richards wanted to help or tried to solve these issues of worlds colliding, which ended with Doom literally pulling all of these realities together into it's another battle world, yes, but it's like they're like, oh, like there were states and each state was a different Marvel universe. Like here's everyone is Hulks in this state. This one is, the Ultimate Universe. This is the regular universe. This one's the Marvel Zombies universe kind of thing. And they all existed on this one planet in kind of like a kingdom thing. So I could easily see them taking parts of that because they've already dropped the incursion word out there.
I haven't read this run, but I feel like I should, just to kind of be abreast of the situation that our heroes might be running into. But isn't the High Evolutionary also involved in that run of Secret Wars?
No. Not the main run, no.
Oh, I think they were involved at least in the original one, if I remember right. But
Well, you're
either way,
thinking, you're
they could
thinking the
be,
Beyonder, if anything. There's the Beyonder.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking
Yeah,
of. Either way, there's going to be like space creatures involved, just like there always is with these big events in Marvel. But two interesting things to note here. Like you said, shocking that these two Avengers movies coming out in the same year. I think everyone would have assumed and been happy if they came out a year apart, much like Infinity War and Endgame. And who knows, maybe this is a little bit of like, okay, if the movie gets delayed into the next year, at least, we gave ourselves some padding, because who knows how much work is going to go into creating a giant battle world where there's all of these alternate variants of all of our heroes. And who knows, maybe that's when we finally see Tom Cruise in an Iron Man suit, right? But there's 2 dates in the middle between these 2 Avengers movies. And I would be shocked if those 2 dates don't somehow connect to these 2 Avengers movies. Like, you can't have these 2 Avengers movies and then throw something kind of random or inconsequential in between them. So I feel like something's got to be going on there.
I can say one of them I would give a pass, because looking at Ant-Man and the Wasp in between the Avengers movies last time, right? The post-credit scene, yes, but literally the whole story had nothing to do with everything else. And Captain Marvel was the other one, even though she should up.
At least one's got to be a Disney Plus show. I mean, just looking at their schedules.
100%. I think one's a Disney Plus show, and I think that bottom one has enough space to be a movie title, like based on the spacing of this,
or at least something long.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's opportunity there. I will say, literally, of everything announced today that has not already been existing, there are no names attached to these projects, and I think that is the part I want to know. Who is leading the Avengers?
It would just be Armor Wars, right? Well, and then I guess you could have a sequel to Shang-Chi, because that's got to fit at some point in time.
So I didn't put this in here because it's just a rumor. The rumored Shang-Chi sequel is called Wreckage of Time as well, which would tie into the Kang thing.
Gotcha. And we could have a third Doctor Strange, because we know that's dealing with incursions, so that would make a lot of sense there. So, I suppose there's going to be at least some number of these have got to be sequels. That makes the most sense. I mean, I could go back up to, in our show notes, we have the, we have so many, we have talked about this has just been jam-packed episode. I hope everyone's enjoying this. I'm looking at the Phase 4 thing again. We could have Hawkeye season 2. That could be a possibility. Maybe another Spider-Man movie. Maybe Thor sequel might be a little too soon.
Captain Marvel 3 is always an option.
That could happen.
Black Panther 3 could happen. That's a very quick turnaround, but
Loki season 3 could be I mean, we've been dealing, if we're still keeping on with this multiversal stuff, maybe Loki 3 is the last season, right, and it wraps everything
that could
up.
Could be kick off into the Kang thing, because he introduced Jonathan Majors as
exactly. Last week on the show, we talked about that leaked concept art of Doctor Doom. I'm not saying we're going to see like a Victor Von Doom logo up on the screen necessarily, but do we assume
Do More? It could be Do More, which is him pitting Atlantis and Wakanda together. That could lead into a Do More, them fighting Latveria if they wanted to.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, this is wild. Just seeing the Avengers logo. I would have loved to have been in the room. I was looking for reaction videos because I love seeing a big hall of people explode in excitement, but I couldn't find a specific one for the announcement of the Avengers logos. I believe this whole
panel is now officially online, minus the footage.
Gotcha.
So I think we can find it now, but it did not go up like right away for that.
Okay, so I'll look out for that because I want to live a little vicariously through
that. and honestly, it's kind of weird how much that Fantastic Four logo looks like the Avengers logo, just backwards, right? Like if you tilt it, it would be an A. There's a lot of opportunity here to tell this story. And what is fantastic to me, Mike, one of the best parts is that they gave it a name. It's not the Infinity Saga, right? That was the first 22 movies. Now it's the Multiverse Saga, and it will not encompass 22 movies, but I'm pretty sure it adds up to like 30 something movies and TV shows along the way. So they are literally. If you were looking for that thread in between these, it's the multiverse. Everything is leading to the multiverse. So.
Yeah, and we have usually seen multiversal stories kind of used as a tool within comic books to reset the status quo, right? You know, let's bring all of our characters back to issue ones so we can sell our issue ones and start our stories from scratch. Is that what is indeed going to happen within the MCU? Because this is a big old saga. We got 2 more phases to go through. Everybody can't make it out of alive of Secret Wars. I'm sorry.
Well,
there's got to be some consequential deaths, and we did have consequential deaths in Endgame. So it seems like they're going to be doing a little bit of resetting here.
100%. You know, some of these people have been doing this since 2009 or 2008, 2009, 2010, right? I would not. I don't put in past putting a Thor 4 in there, Mike, or making Thor be a sacrifice come around the multiverse saga. Also, I forgot Eternals could have an Eternals 2 in here, like
possibly.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like there's opportunities for other things that, you know, we may not think performed well. They may be like, well, it was pushing our story forward. But the multiverse saga will wrap up, and then it will kick off the next saga. And I still think who is the villain you want to see the most be done so well that you are so excited to see it, Mike?
I mean, I don't know if you're specifically wanting me to say one thing.
There's one thing I want you to say, but go on.
I'll say, I mean, we're still waiting for Galactus.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Time.
It is Galactus. We do not Galactus is not a multiversal threat. He is a universal threat. So is it, you know, Infinity Saga, Multiversal Saga, and then whatever the next one is it an Eternity Saga, or like something to do with like those beings like Eternity, right? Like the cosmos. The Kevin Feige saga. I think he's got another set of movies or plans in his book. It's not written in stone. It's probably in pencil on a napkin. But I think Multiversal Saga is great because here's the next surprising fact out of this. Marvel went and started announcing movies beyond Phase 6. We have release dates for unnamed Marvel movies for February 13th, 2026, May 1st, 2026, July 24th, 2026, and November 6th, 2026. God, I remember when getting one movie a year was great. Now we're getting 4 Disney Plus shows. You know what? I would be remiss to say, is fatigue around the corner? Possibly. But am I having a good time so far? Hell yeah. And, you know, all downsides of Phase 4 aside, all the ups, there's been ups. Ups have been high, the lows have been low, but it's still, when they put those Avengers logos on the screen, Mike, it makes me so damn excited to get ready for those.
And then also to bring things full circle, just with the show in general, between all of these dates for the MCU that we've talked about, you also have Star Wars. You also have DC Comics. You have Netflix things. You have Amazon Prime dumping money into some beautiful looking stuff. Apple Plus shows. Like, it's just there's never a lack of things to pull your attention.
This is called job security for our podcast. Marvel has booked us until at least November of 2026 at this point. So, but I think what's great about seeing this, even if it has to fluctuate a little bit, we are just that hair over 3 years away from seeing all this come to fruition. So what do we not know has happened? Who do we not know has signed on? Who was writing these things? Who were directing these things? I'm so excited to know, Mike. And, you know, I don't want to knock on DC. That horse has been beat dead, but like they literally gave us 2 things through the end of the year. That we already know, like this calendar year, and I'm like,
I mean,
come on now.
I totally forgot about the most obvious thing that could be in one of those 8 slots. That is probably the biggest thing that they could announce at D23, and that would be X-Men. I mean, yes. I don't know if that's something that you save until after a multiversal battle. Or a battle world, or do you need a roster of mutants to kind of fill out a battle world in a way? I don't know, but we know X-Men that they got to be coming sooner or later.
Yes, everyone's anxiously awaiting the X-Men, and honestly, that could be if that's a D23 announcement and that's one of those movies, even better. If it's if it's one of the first ones out of on Phase 7 instead of Phase 6. Cool, sign me up. Let's kick off with mutants. Because how do you say mutants exist in a world, reset the world, right? At the end of Secret Wars. Mm-hmm. And then boom,
Gotcha.
We have mutants now, so we don't have to explain it. Here they are.
And then also, does a legacy Fox character, technically, Deadpool, does that show up in these phase timelines? Does he get included? I don't know. We'll find out. So many questions. I'm very excited. I will actually be at D23 this year. I don't know what I'm going to be able to see. I doubt I'll be in the room when all of these announcements happen, but I'll at least be able to report back on just the general vibes. I've never been to D23 before. I think that'll be really fun. So stay tuned. Stay subscribed, obviously, because we got so much to talk about every week. I mean, are you even prepared for a news cycle where they announce the next actor for Wolverine whenever that happens? Make sure you're subscribed to us. That'll happen one day sooner rather than later, and you'll want to hear us talk about it.
And whether you want to hear us talk about it or not, some people might hate us, Mike. I don't know. But we have factual news. We're going to filter out all the junk that you have to go through on Twitter to get here because, by God, there was so much junk yesterday. Like, fake news articles, people trolling other people. It was real bad for a while there. That's why I had to check 4 times to make sure Daredevil had 18 episodes because I'm like, someone's just messing with me. They're just screwing me over.
It's a typo. It was only supposed to be 8. They threw that one in there because their keyboard's broken.
It was just a 1. It wasn't even supposed to be an 8. Just 1 episode of Born Again. No. But yeah, so we're doing that. But this has been a long episode for you guys for San Diego Comic-Con. I will be at C2E2 in 2 weeks. So, we'll be sitting down in 2 weeks from now to talk about C2E2. They won't do any announcements there, but it'll be a fun time. But if people want to know about what we're doing, what you're up to, Mike, where can they find you at?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, see your adventures at C2E2 in a couple of weeks, where can they find you?
Yes, or you can meet me there. Just hit me up at Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87. I hope to see you guys there, and if not, I'll at least tell you what's going on. If people know about the show where they can come back every week. If you're a new listener, you can come back every week. We are consistent right here. Where can they find all that at?
Oh, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all of the avenues we host our little show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you ever needed show notes more in your life, it is this episode. We have so many links in our show notes this week. Lots of collateral, lots of material, lots of things to click on. So head on over to superheroslate.com and get all of that awesome info. It's actually really annoying to hunt down trailers, especially when they all come out at the same time. So we got a nice little itemized list. And also no annoying pop-ups or ads or anything on our site. It's so streamlined. It's just a tool out there for everybody.
What's that release schedule that I'm updating immediately after this episode?
Yes, the best tool on their website is our upcoming release calendar. Just a nice little simple itemized list of everything that's coming out in the next couple of years and everything that has come out in the past. So it's a good legacy tool as well, so you don't have to look everything up on a timeline at other websites. So we got that up there for you, superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. I think we also have a TikTok too. I made one of those a while ago. We haven't really posted anything there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start leveraging it sooner or later. So yeah, if you're on TikTok, I think we got one of those as well. So we love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of this show, it's so easy to do. I'll say it for you. It's a simple task. Just share the show with a friend. Share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks. We've been here every week for so long, I lost track of time.
Yes.
I thought it was 6 years. Chris told me we're on our 8th year. So we got a lot of practice doing this show. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll talk about the fallout of Comic-Con, I'm sure.
The lack of news this week, or just the repetition, is going to drive me nuts until we get something new. But we'll report it for you guys, and we'll be here next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.